Today we're going to take a look at a Taylormade MG4 wedge fitting when we were joined from the team at Taylormade. Remember, if you like our content, please hit that subscribe button.
We've just had a little look at a few things. We'll now have a little look at your wedges.
Yep.
So I've got your pitching wedge there. We're going to get a few numbers off your pitching wedge.
Yep.
And we're going to find out kind of what that's doing yardage wise. We'll then gap off of that.
Yep.
To see where we need to be. So I think you said to me your loft on your pitching wedge is 44 degrees.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Which is relatively strong for the type of iron that you play.
Yeah.
So we just need to take that into account when we're gapping in wedges. One of the things we'll look at for you is we want to find yardages that you're comfortable hitting. So we'll have a look at the numbers on TrackMan anyway, but what would you normally see as pitching wedge carry?
115 to 120.
Okay,
something
cool.
around that kind of line is what I expect.
Perfect. And then down from there, do you like to see yardages or do you just kind of go with what the wedges do?
A little bit of both. I kind of want my gap wedge to be that 100-yard carry.
Yeah.
That kind of thing is probably what I want from that.
Yeah.
Beyond that, it's a bit more. The other two are more kind of around the greens.
Yeah, they're less full
I'm
shots.
not worried about distances necessarily
Cool.
with those. I can make them work.
Okay.
Whatever it is.
Perfect. So really kind of you're playing your fuller shots with pitching wedge, gap wedge.
Yeah.
The other two are less full shots.
Yes,
but
yeah, 100%.
If they can hit a yardage, if you absolutely have to, then that's nice.
Yeah, I'll figure out
Okay.
what they do, and if I need to hit a yardage, I can do that with them. But yeah.
Perfect. So give me a few shots with your pitching wedge. And are these standard length, just a bit flatter?
They're flatter. They were 1/4 of an inch shorter.
Okay.
On sort of Strixon standards.
Yep.
But that's around about standard for some
Around
of the
about
brands.
standard for where we are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Now we know as well that you like your irons. We notice a little bit of lead tape in there, so you know your swing weights, I take it.
Yeah.
Which swing weight do you play?
So I'm give or take D3.
Yep.
Generally speaking, I'm not
Yep.
too. Mainly with that was just I built these at home, so I didn't have tip weights and things like that. But yeah, D3 give or take is where I'm at.
Yeah. Cool. Perfect. So generally in that we like to be a little bit heavier than that in a wedge.
Yep.
Which is why when you look at a wedge, the wedges will generally have a slightly longer neck length.
Yeah.
That helps add some weight to the head there to create that slightly heavier weight in there. That just helps with delivery a lot better in terms of strike and what we want to see on a wedge.
Yeah.
So having that slightly shorter shaft length in there anyway, being slightly heavier swing weight, it's not about promoting speed, it's about control.
Yeah.
So that's why we can go a little bit heavier in a swing weight in a wedge.
Perfect.
So we'll look at that as well for you. Obviously, looking at your current lofts, you play 48, 54, 60.
Yeah.
So I think we'll start off there. If your pitching wedge is 44 and you want to play your gap wedge as a gapping club, we'll look at that. I can see looking on here, your good strikes. It's pretty tight dispersion, couple of bottom hits, couple of middle hits. Your middle hit was very much kind of 115 carry on here.
Yeah.
So obviously we're indoors, so we'll use that as our base number. Let's have a hit with this now. So I'm just going to give you a 50 degree to start with. Okay. Because as I said, we're trying to hit a number. So I'm going to start with this to see where we need to be. Okay. Cool. And remind me again, what's the lie angle on your irons? Was it 2 flat? Or
yes, the pitching wedge is 61.5.
Okay, cool. Cool. Solid. Tight, good spin numbers, but just a little bit short on distance, which is what we expect. Strike again. Okay. Okay. So, I mean, the dispersion was nice, really tight. Like I said, 50, we were just trying 50 to see what that was going to do.
Yeah.
Is a little bit short. So let's go into that 48. As we know, we look at loft gapping. You're somebody that likes to see 4-degree increments.
Yeah.
I'm very similar. I play my pitching wedge at 46. I then play a 50-degree.
Yeah.
And my 9-iron at 42.
Yeah.
The only time I change mine is I go 50, 54, 60.
Yeah.
Because I don't really play full shots with a 60. So the loft on it, it's relevant, but also irrelevant at the same time. Okay, it's more like it. Yeah, touch left, which is why we jumped up a little bit, but 104 carry.
Yeah.
Okay, again, solid at 104 carry. As we know, this is a gapping club for you.
Yeah.
You're that 115 to 120, so we're looking for that 100 to 105 carry. Solid.
Yeah.
Really, really solid. So that's been delivering that kind of up there. The first one was a bit mishit, but your next three have been anywhere between 100 and 104.
Yeah.
So, and straight.
Straight as well, yeah.
Visually, I can see you are, obviously these wedges are all just standard length and lie. Visually, they look too upright for you.
Yeah.
Everybody's slightly different that we fit. So you're a better golfer. You're going to adjust to that wedge by kind of lifting the handle to get that strike right.
Yeah.
I would rather you deliver the club how you would like to, which is why we will go flatter.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see, like, obviously there's a bit of a height difference between myself and you, but even I played my wedges at, my irons are standard. My 50 and 54 are 1 flat. My 60 is 2 flat.
Yeah.
One of the big reasons in that is 2 reasons really why we'll always go a little flatter on a wedge than an iron.
Yeah.
Is you will play shots with a slightly lower handle position anyway around the green.
Yeah.
The other thing is when you're hitting short shots, so chip shots and pitch shots, the heel of a wedge, if you catch it heel first, let's say you catch it a touch heavy and it's coming in toe up, your heel's going to dig in first. The heel will dig and stop. And that's where you kind of get those chunks, those duffs. Whereas if you get a wedge that's a little on the flat side and the toe comes in down, the toe will actually glide more. So the toe won't dig as much, it will glide more. The other reason being is if you pull a wedge, it's a lot more, let's say you're hitting a 60-yard pitch shot and lie angle also dictates face plane tilt. So if that lie angle then is delivered a little bit toe up, face is then going to point left. You pull a wedge shot, it will take off distance, take off loft. It will be more likely to shoot through the back of the green.
Yeah.
If you deliver it toe down, it's more likely to go a little short and right, but it doesn't go as short and right as the left one goes long left.
Yeah.
So it's less destructive. If you're hitting to a wedge, say you're hitting a 60-yard pitch to a small target, but the pin's in the middle of the green, you could miss the green left with something too upright. Yeah. You could miss it long left, but you'll probably still find front right of the green with a toe down strike. So I'd rather see a slightly flatter wedge. So we're definitely going to go flatter. We'll either match the irons. We might even go 1 flatter than the irons to get it there. So I like 48 for you. How did the wedge feel?
Yeah, no, it's really nice. I like the feel off the face. Yeah, I think lie angle wise, I'd want to probably match into the pitching wedge and go 61.5.
61.5. So yeah, we build at 61.5 through.
But yeah, feel wise, yeah, it's really nice. Really like the feel off the face.
Cool. So like obviously with MG4, we've carried on our raw face technology, so that when it's in your bag, it looks nice and fresh. Doesn't look like a rusty wedge. But then when you flip it over, you've got that rusty wedge. Yeah,
and I do like the way that rusty face just frames the ball.
Yeah.
When you put it down there, just that bit in the middle, frames
so
the ball
I like
really
that for you in that 48.
Yeah.
We'll get on to shaft in a moment.
Yeah.
Because shaft's a big feel thing, but we'll have a little look at our loft first, and then we'll get into shaft because obviously this is Dynamic Golf Tour Issue S200.
Yeah.
A little bit lighter than what you currently play.
Yeah.
So we might go a touch heavier just to get that feel right for you. But we're next going to go up into a 54. Let me give you this 54 now.
So just some full swings to start with?
Yeah, give me some full swings,
Yeah.
but we know that you don't play this full all the time.
Yeah.
So I want to find out what your full yardage is,
yeah.
but then I want to find out kind of a little bit of turf interaction on your less full shots.
Cool.
So in there, 75, 80 yard carry, is that what you'd expect from a 54?
Something probably, 80, 85 would be kind of what I would expect for 54, something like that.
Yeah.
Let's just do one more full. Solid. Okay. Let's do a little half swing.
Okay. Cool. So yeah, you were anything in there, like you can tell in there with this, you're not used to hitting these full.
No.
But it delivered the yardages we were expecting, kind of anywhere in there, those high 70s up to, you had one in there at 85. So they're delivering the distance we want. Now, with our wedge select fit kit, we are able to give you a wedge head that is a little flatter.
Okay.
Using our select fit kit with the sleeves and shaft adapter. So I've got, fortunately, we do one in 54.
Yeah.
We do them in MG4 in 54 and 58 lofts. So we can look at that in lie angle. As I said, when we get to that lofted wedge, loft isn't as relevant. But we can give you one in 2 degrees flat. So let me give you that there. So this will give you a good idea of how that feels being a little flatter.
Yeah, it feels better.
Yeah.
Feels more comfortable straight away.
The biggest thing, like I mean, that delivered a good number there, 79 carry.
Yeah.
The big thing for me is immediately that sounded better.
Yeah.
Now I know we're hitting off of a mat, but you can still hear it. You can hear if something's too upright, it sounds a little clunky.
Yeah.
Turf interaction just sounded so much crisper there.
Yeah.
Solid, really good.
It just feels just a nice, comfortable swing.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
So now with that one, just give me a few kind of shots that you might hit during a round with a 54 degree.
Okay.
Whether they're 3/4 shots, half shots. I mean, the good thing on the full shots as well, you were spinning anywhere around that kind of 9 to 9,500 spin rate, which is good, really good spin. Cool. I mean, that's a kind of maybe a 90% shot. It's still spinning high at like 8.5 to 8.6. It's one of those when you're in driver fits and you're looking at someone with a driver, you're trying to hit a lower spin number, and it's like sometimes you're like, we need to get your spin lower to get you more distance. Where distance or getting maximum distance is less relevant in a wedge, we want controlled distance.
Yeah.
Higher spin is far better.
Yeah. Slightly open the face, see how that feels.
How does the bounce feel on that?
Yeah, it feels pretty good. Like I say, that one felt like I was just going to try and open the face a little bit on.
Yeah.
Didn't feel like I'm really sitting up loads of sort of leading edge exposed.
So your current wedge, for example, is a 10 degree bounce. Our standard bounce in 54 is 11.
Yeah.
Not too far apart. They'll be very similar sole design.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like I'm sort of either really digging or really sort of bouncing off too soon.
I'll often find in these, if you've got somebody that likes a wedge, I don't stray a million miles away from where they currently are, because you can start to mess with turf interaction. If you like your current 54, I'd keep you at standard bounce because it's that mid option for us.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like I can do what I want with it.
Yes.
It feels like I can open it out if I want to. I can push it forward or back in my stance if I want to.
And again, there for a 65-yard pitch shot, you're spinning it above 8,000, which is really good control. So I like that. I'm now going to grab that from you, and we're now going to look at the 60.
Okay.
We know for you that 60 is the loft you like to play.
Yeah.
As I said, the yard is just kind of irrelevant, which is why we're in 60.
Yeah.
You currently play quite a low bounce wedge.
Yes.
Any reason for that?
Just that I've always quite liked the way a low bounce sits.
Yeah.
It's again, I'm not necessarily precious about it being ultra low.
Yeah.
But just I've always felt that my turf interaction, my strike is better on a lower bounce option than necessarily.
And you've got no issue kind of releasing wedges and doing different shots with them.
Nope.
Cool. That's perfect. Like, I mean, what we see sometimes is if someone's maybe a bad, I don't want to say bad chipper or a bad pitcher, but if someone tends to get a bit diggy, their bad shot might be a bit heavy.
Yeah.
We'll get them into a bit more bounce on it.
Yeah.
Whereas yours is fairly low bounce, quite aggressive. But you're skilled enough to use that.
Yeah.
So one of the things with bounce, and obviously we've got our low bounce here, and I'll compare that with our high bounce sole. So you can see there, it's this angle here of the wedge. So obviously this being high bounce at 12, low bounce at 8.
Yeah.
You've also got more camber in the low bounce wedge.
Yeah.
One of the things that we use to describe bounce on wedges is effectively how quick it will chuck it out the ground.
Yes.
So as that wedge goes into the ground, the more bounce it has, the more it's likely to come out, which is when we talk about bunker shots, for example, why we generally say you put more bounce on a bunker shot on your sand wedge.
Yeah.
Because as it goes in, you want that wedge to come back out. You don't want it to dig. The only time you really want it to dig is when you've got a plug lie. You want it to dig so that the ball then comes out. But that's where for you obviously like that. You can control that bounce going through. So I'm going to start with our 60 low bounce.
Okay.
One of the big things with bounce fitting here, we're looking more at feel and interaction for you.
Yeah.
You'll feel the difference between the bounces.
Yeah.
I mean, those 3 shots there, the dispersion, they've all landed on top of each other, basically.
It's pretty consistent on the, obviously being a brand new wedge. I can see the strike there's all come off pretty much the same spot.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah.
It shows that we're looking in the right place there.
Just see this one open a little bit.
How did it feel?
Yeah, it feels quite nice. It feels it feels nice and heavy.
Okay, that's good.
Which, so for certainly in the 60 degree, I like it to feel quite heavy because I'm not going to hit this hard.
Yeah.
So I feel I want it to feel nice and heavy, just so I can just let the club do what it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I like how this wants to sit a little open. Again, what I would tend to do with a 60 is play it slightly open face. Yeah, a little bit
solid. And that bounce, that turf interaction, that felt okay at low bounce?
Yeah. So I feel like it wants to sit. I feel like I can sit that slightly open. Again, what I want to do with around the green is tend to play 60 degrees slightly open. So I know that I'm going to naturally add a little bit of bounce to that by doing it.
Yeah.
So it's part of the reason why I like having low bounce to start with, because I'm going to tend to add a little bit as I go.
Okay. So now I'm going to give you one of our new grinds here, which is LBV.
Yeah.
Now this is another low bounce option. It's 7 degrees bounce, but you'll see on the sole here, it's got a little bit more aggressive leading edge.
Yep.
The camber's a little bit more aggressive on it.
Yep.
So it just, again, they're very similar in how they play. There's not necessarily massive reason why you would go for, it's more of a feel thing as whether you would go for one over the other.
Yep. That felt nice and solid.
See, weirdly there, for me, although this has got 1 degree less bounce, because of that leading edge sitting a lot sharper, that almost sounded like the back of the wedge hit floor first.
Yeah.
So weirdly,
So
you'd almost say, okay, well,
higher on the
it's a
strike.
lower bounce wedge, but it's reacting almost like it's a high bounce wedge.
Yeah.
Can you feel the difference between the two?
Yeah, that felt. I mean, certainly that last one felt really nice through the ball.
That sounded really crisp, really spinny. For a 60-yard shot, 8,000, 8.2.5.
Yeah,
it's really good for a 60-yard pitch. Cool.
Yeah, it feels nice.
It's almost as though for that first shot, you had to adjust yourself to change into a new bounce.
Yeah.
But actually, your last 2 shots have been your best 60-yard pitch shots you've hit so far.
Yeah. Yeah, it just feels nice and consistent. It just feels nice and solid.
Compared to your wedge, it's actually got a little bit more camber to it, even though it's got 1 degree more wedge, which gives you that maximum manipulation.
Yeah. So I mean, I like that kind of almost ridge through the middle of it, and it seems quite similar to actually the design on the sole of my irons, in that there's that sort of little ridge through the middle of it, which means actually, you know what, if I want to play that shot where I want to open it, I can leave it on that sort of trailing edge. Yeah. And I feel like, again, it doesn't sit the leading edge up in the air. Yeah. But equally, you know, if I want to play just a little back foot chip, I can sit it on that leading edge. Yeah. And still feel like I can pick it off.
The great thing is, although it's a low bounce wedge, when you play bunk shots, do you use your lob wedge?
I'll use anything. I'll use anything out of a bunker, whatever I need.
Do you generally play an open face?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're always adding bounce when you open the face. So as much as the static bounce on it at square face is 7. Yeah. As you open that, you're going to add bounce. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, sort of bunker shots, I'll have no problem just sitting it sort of way open and just... Yeah, that feels nice and easy just to throw it straight up in the air.
I mean, for me, that LBV, yes, the first shot wasn't great with it. Yeah. After that, they've sounded the best strike. Yeah. A lot of the time, we'll do our bounce fittings on ear, almost, like you can hear whether you're in the right bounce and right.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like in terms of feel, that's felt the easiest to feel like, you know, I can just sit this however I want to. Yeah. And I can make it do whatever I want it to do. Yeah. So yeah, that's...
Now, the other thing is, I like that wedge shaft for you. Yeah. I think it's performing really well.
Yeah. A little bit lighter.
The only other option I would potentially say, and it's more from a visual thing, and it's just something, we talked about this earlier, it's something that I've done this year. Yeah. We actually offer now a black wedge option in KBS Tour. Yeah. And through custom, it doesn't add anything to the price of the wedge. You can have that, or you can have that. It's exactly the same pricing. Yeah. Just whether, I know for you don't like the look of glare coming from the face. Yeah. It's whether you like that idea of having black in it.
Yeah, I mean, I would say if it feels shaft-wise, if it feels like it delivers the same numbers, then
have a hit with that. It's going to be a little bit long, but it is 2 degrees flat. Okay. It's in a slightly different bounce, but it's just whether you like the look of that black shaft.
Yeah, no, that's... Is that KBS?
That's a little heavy.
Yes, it feels heavy.
It feels heavy. But we do that in 120 stiff, 130X.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't feel really heavy compared to mine. Yeah. Yeah, it feels heavier than what I've been using, but it doesn't feel... Yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel like I would struggle to use that.
Yeah. The spin number's still in there. Look at that. Considering the weight and the flex of this shaft, it's a 52-yard pitch that's spinning at 9,000.
Yeah. Yeah, I must admit, that feels... Now I've had a couple of shots with it, that feels quite nice, the weight. Yeah.
See, I would probably go in that, but in the stiffer flex. Yeah. In the stiff rather than... I play X, it is a little bit soft step, but it's... it is... I play it purely from a weight perspective, but I would put you in the 120 stiff. Yeah. But if you like that black shaft, that's something you can go into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's nice. So visually, awesome. I quite like the look of that.
Yeah.
even without necessarily thinking about going to a black head or anything. That sits just visually. That sits quite nice.
Yeah. Just again, it's that. Not that you're going to get glare from a shaft. You're more likely to get glare from a face.
Yeah.
But it's just cool. Like black shafts in wedges. Like you see it a lot on tour.
Yeah.
So for us now to be able to offer a black shaft in a wedge at no added cost.
Yeah.
Is something something that's quite cool. So that for me, like I mean, that's where I would put you is in that KBS 120 stiff.
Yeah.
In that LBV grinding 60.
Yeah.
54. 54, which is now in the bag there. We were in at standard bounce.
Yeah.
And that 48.
Yeah.
All at 2 degrees flat.
Yeah.
It then just comes down to grip size and type. Do you just match into what you have on your irons?
Yeah. So I mean, I've got standards iomics, but I put a couple of extra layers. I quite like the feeling of actually a little bit thicker in the bottom hand.
Yeah.
So I like the texture of that being quite soft, but I just add a couple of extra layers underneath it. But
so we can either match into those, or we can put these grips on there. These ones are our TaylorMade Z grips.
Yeah.
They're actually a +2.
+2, yeah.
So they're a little bit fatter under the bottom hand. They're not a 0 taper, but they're reduced taper.
Yeah.
So that could be a cool grip.
Yeah, that could be a good option there.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So perfect.
Nice.